The conspiracy theory known as Project Bluebeam, which first surfaced in the 1990s, claims that there is a covert effort underway to create a global hoax utilizing cutting-edge technology and a four-step plan in order to manipulate and regulate public opinion. Using cutting-edge holographic and mind control technologies, this idea contends that the project involves a staged alien invasion and the appearance of an impactful figure that will establish New World Order. The original concept appeared in the 1990s and gained traction through the internet. Serge Monast is the original author of the idea. He was a journalist, poet, and essayist. He also participated actively in the Canadian Social Credit Party. Monast began writing about the New World Order and conspiracies devised by secret societies in the early 1990s, especially after reading William Guy Carr. He also published a book titled Project Bluebeam, which is almost impossible to obtain nowadays. The book talks about how NASA would work together with United Nations to create a one-world religion with one leading figure named the Antichrist, and they will use technology to simulate the second coming of Christ. Later in 1995, Monast published another work titled The Toronto Protocols, a work that was modeled after the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. In it, he claimed that a Masonic group known as 666 had been assembling the world's wealthy for 20 years in order to create the New World Order and control people's minds. Monast also gave several interviews in a French TV show, Esoterisme Experimental, hosted by esotericist and ufologist Richard Glenn, where he explained his theory even further, highlighting two things. It describes how contemporaneous events, particularly the production of movies such as Star Wars, Space Odyssey and Star Trek, were exploited to mentally get people ready for the dramatic reveal of the conspiracy, a fictitious alien invasion. It initially played on anxieties about purportedly cutting-edge technology that most people, including its author, did not understand at the time, but now, 30 years later, is almost entirely plausible. By the years 1995 and 1996, Monast claimed that the police and other authorities were after him for his alleged participation in networks of prohibited information. His two children, who had been homeschooled, were later seized from him and became state wards in September 1996 so that they may receive public education. Monast died of a heart attack in December 1996 at age 51. His passing left his supporters with questions. They continue to hold the opinion that Monast was actually poisoned with a psychotropic weapon. The theory was popular back in the 90s when the internet was not developed good enough. However, there were a lot of articles in French. However, if you dig deep enough, you can find audio tape that is transcribed in English that is available online, and I will read some parts of it to you right now. And in this audio tape, Serge Monast gives explanation to his theory in further detail to a wider audience. Here it is. What I ask to everyone who will read and hear the description following, it is not to be paralyzed by their natural fear, but to spread every word of the contents of this 90-minute audio tape and to gather together in order to pray, to think and to plan different ways they will organize themselves to survive the New World Order government, showdown and power taking. Because what we have to understand is the New World government won't be something permanent, immortal. This is not the case, but what we have to do and what we have to think right now is how to organize ourselves to survive such tyranny, such satanic plans. Now, the famous NASA Bluebeam project has 4 different steps, 4 parts toward the implementation of the New World Religion with the Antichrist at its head. And we must remember that the New World Religion is the basic foundation for the New World Government. Without that New World Religion, such government, such worldwide dictatorship is completely impossible. That is why the project is not only so important to them, but was so well kept secret to now. The first step concerns the breakdown of all archaeological knowledge. It deals with the setup of earthquakes at certain precise locations of the planet where supposedly new discoveries will suddenly explain for them the wrong meaning of all major religions' basic doctrines. This classification used to make the population believe that all religious doctrines have been misunderstood and misinterpreted have already started with the field of psychological preparation for populations, for the first step has been prepared through films like 2001 A Space Odyssey, the series Star Trek, Star Wars, which deals with space invasion and space protection, and the last film Jurassic Park, dealing with the theory of evolution. Now, which is important to understand, and that first step is that those earthquakes will hit at different parts of the world where scientists and archaeological teachings have been taught in the past, where supposedly there were some hidden secrets. By those kinds of earthquakes, it will be possible for them to rediscover again, supposedly, rediscover again those kinds of secrets, and those secrets are meant to discredit all the religion's basic doctrines. This is the first preparation for the plan for humanity, because what they want to do is to throw down, to shake up the beliefs of all Christians on the planet, and to do that they need some false proof, supposedly from the past and from the far past, that will prove to men and women that their religions are false. The second step deals with a gigantic space show with three-dimensional optical holograms and sounds, laser projections of multiple holographic images to different parts of the world, each receiving different images according to predominant regional national religious faith. This new God's image will be talking in all languages. Now, to understand that, we have to go back a little bit in different secret services research done in the last 25 years, like this one. The Soviets have manufactured the advanced computer, even imported and fed them with the minute psychical particular based studies about the anatomy and biology of the human body, and the studies about the anatomy, the chemistry, and the electricity of the human brain. These computers were fed as well with the different languages and their meanings. The dialect of people have been fed from the nature through satellite. The Soviets started to feed the computer with objective programs like the once new Messiah. It also seems that the Soviets now, the New World Order people, do suicidal methods with the human society by locating an electronic wave on every mind for many persons in different societies. Now, there are two different things in that second part, the space show and where that space show comes from. The space show, the holographic imaging, will be used in a simulation of the ending, in which you are given scenes which focus on fulfillment of that which is a desire for you to protect, to fit the needs of those adversary. The results of this deliberately staged false Christ will be for the implementation of a new universal religion. Enough tricks will be hoisted on us to hook us into the lie. In principle, it will make use of the sky as a movie screen, a space-based laser generating satellite projects simultaneous images to the four corners of the planet in every language and in every dialect according to region. It deals with the religion aspect of the New World Order and is a large-scale seduction. Specifically, the show will consist of laser projection, multiple holographic images to different parts of the world, each receiving a different according to predominating regional national religious faith. Not a single area will be excluded, with computer animation and sound effects appearing to come from the depths of space. Astonished followers of the various creeds will witness their own returned Messiah in spectacularly convincing lifelike realness. Then the projection of the Christ, of Muhammad, Buddha, Krishna, etc. will merge into one another. Explanation of the mysteries, prophecies, and revelations will have been disclosed. This one God will in fact be the Antichrist, who will explain the various scriptures have been misunderstood, that the religions of all are responsible for turning brother against brother, nation against nation. Therefore, the world's religions must be abolished to make way for the golden age, new age, of the one world religion, representing the one God Antichrist. In this instance, they see before them. Now, these techniques push us toward the third step of the NASA Bluebeam project that goes along with the telepathic electronical two-way communication, where ELF, VLF, and LF waves will reach the people of the earth by the inside of their brain, making each one to believe that his own God is talking to each one from within his own soul. Such waves from satellite are fed from the memory of computers, which store a lot of data about the human being and the languages. These waves will then interlace and interweave with natural thinking to form what we call artificial talk. Now that kind of technology goes into the 1970s, 1980s and 1990s research when the human brain has been compared to a computer. Information is fed in, processed, integrated, and our response is then formulated and acted upon. What is possible to ask here in front of such a psychology of terror as this? Would any government, corporation or psychiatrist willfully promote such horror today? The answer is quite obviously yes. As for the question of why, for one thing, if you terrify the public and make them fear for their safety, they will allow you to implement draconian law enforcement practices, disarm them and keep extensive records on them, and they only have to tell you, well, that's all in order to protect you, of course. And secondly, it promotes the decay of the current form of democratic political system and leads societies to search for alternatives to current political methodology. Of course, the alternative has already been planned. It is called New World Order, and it won't have your safety or interest at heart. Fear has always been used by powerful elite to control and subjugate the masses. The old maxim, divide and conquer, is being played out to the limit in every corner of the planet to ensure that everybody is frightened for their personal safety and scared or suspicious of those around them. This too, it is called mind control. And another thing is which is really important over here dealing with that kind of technology is this. It has been reported by Lieutenant Cole Alexander, who said in the summary of his military review article, the information on those kinds of technology presented here would be considered by some to be ridiculous since it does not conform to their view of reality, but some people still believe the world is flat. Now, this means a lot, because if people do not believe that kind of technology to be possible, or this kind of technology we are talking about is just science fiction, those people put themselves in jeopardy, because when the night of the 1,000 stars will shine from the space, during that night when the new Messiah and the new world religion will be implemented on the planet, those people won't have time to prepare themselves, and they will not be prepared to preserve themselves against such kind of technology. That is why they put themselves in jeopardy, because they don't believe, they don't take time to prepare, and this is something real dangerous. Now we are going to talk about the fourth step of that NASA Bluebeam project. Now the fourth step concerns the universal supernatural manifestation with electronic means. It contains three different orientations. One is to make mankind believe that an alien invasion is about to strike down on each major city of the earth in order to push each major nations to use its nuclear to strike back. This way it would put each of these nations in a state of full disarmament in front of the United Nations after the false attack. The second is to make the Christians believe to a major rapture with the supposedly divine intervention of an alleged good alien force coming to save the people from a brutal satanic attack. Its goal is to get rid of all significant opposition of the New World Order. The third orientation in the fourth step is a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces. The waves used at that time will allow supernatural forces to travel through optical fiber, coaxial cable, the one used for cable TV, electric and phone lines in order to penetrate everywhere on electronic equipment, appliances, will be already installed with microchips. The goal of this one deals with global satanic ghosts, spectre all around the world in order to push all population on the edge to drown into a wave of suicide, killing and permanent psychological disorders. Then after that night of the 1,000 stars, humanity is going to be ready to implore any new messiah to re-establish peace everywhere at any cost, even at the cost of freedom abdication. Now, which is interesting to note this over here. The technique used in that fourth step is exactly the same used in the past in USSR to force the people to accept communism. The same technical way will be used by the United Nations to implement the New World religion in the New World Order. A lot of people ask me when this is going to happen and how they are going to do it. Which are the steps they are going to set up before that night of the 1,000 stars? According to different research and different reports that we get, they are thinking right now of an economic crash. Not a complete crash that would put down all the economy, but an economic crash that would force them, that will also have them as a pretext to come up with an in-between currency. That means a new kind of currency that would be in between the currency that we have right now and the electronic cash. Now, what they want to do with the in-between currency is to force everybody who has some money in reserve everywhere to spend that money, because they consider that they will have problems to implement the new world order. If somewhere there are some people independent who can survive by themselves, so they have to put the people in a way to force them to spend everything and absolutely everything they have. Before we continue, if there is one thing I want from you to take from this video, is to think critically of the information that you consume, of the facts that you are fed with, and not only this video but every other YouTube video you will ever see. Because I am here just to provide the theory, and it is only a theory. Remember that, guys. Moving on, there was actually a Star Trek movie that was developed back in 1975. I mean, it was still in development, it never got released, but it actually foretells the events that are described in Project Bluebeam. In May 1975, Gene Roddenberry accepted an offer from Paramount to develop Star Trek into a feature film and moved back into his old office on the Paramount lot. His proposed story told of a flying saucer hovering above Earth that was programmed to send down people who looked like prophets, including Jesus Christ. It turns out that the unmade mid-70s Star Trek film script by Roddenberry, which was used for the Star Trek The Next Generation episode Devil's Due, shown in 1991 but with the false prophets removed from the plot, was the source of the conspiracy notion. So what does that mean? Depends on how you look at it. For some people that might serve as proof that the conspiracy theory is real, because Monast had been fed information from the CIA and that's why he suddenly died of a heart attack, and they wanted to make this plot into a movie to prepare humans for the fake alien invasion, because that is what they are so good at, prophesizing events through movies and TV shows before it becomes a reality. Or you could look at it from another perspective and say that because of Monast's history of being inspired by other writers to write his own stuff, he got inspiration from the Star Trek episode, and because he was a Christian, he saw parallels between the plot and how the Bible describes the second coming of Christ, and based on this information created this theory. Or he was in close connections to Gene Roddenberry and read the script of the original film that was in the works that describes the entire scenario that is the Bluebeam Project conspiracy, and he liked the idea so much that he wanted to make it a reality. Now let's critically examine the theory itself. First of all, I don't see the point of faking earthquakes. I think the government can do a well enough job other ways to try to disprove some religion. I think that there's too much emphasis on Christianity. There are other religions out there that the government might want to disprove. And also I think that it would be smarter if the government tried to befriend, for example, let's say Christians, with having a religious leader who has this Christian mindset and who will try to befriend other people and who will be liked and loved by the world. And as a matter of fact, that is what the Bible says will actually happen. But yes, the new world order will try to create a false sense of security, I mean for everyone basically. And actually I have to agree that the government can push their narratives through movies, because think about it, a movie is at least 90 minutes long, and it's not just some sort of Instagram reel that you forget after 2 minutes. A movie can have a big impact, and it can actually prepare you for a big event also, and in this case Project Bluebeam. So that is why it is so important to have control over your brain for what you consume and what you choose to just throw out. And speaking about Project Bluebeam, part 2 and onwards is obviously very wild. We're talking about this big technology, and my question is, who will fund it all? I mean, if it is not Elon Musk, then I don't know who other influence, who has this enormous big amounts of money to fund this all and to create it so perfect that there is not a single mistake when this whole fake alien invasion happens. And when it happens, if it is fake, then I wonder what kind of role does the media play in this. And if it is all fake, then there will obviously be people who will, catch up to it, who will understand, okay, it is fake, unless, as this theory describes, there will be some kind of technology that will even affect and block some of our thoughts, and that we will not have a free will anymore. I personally don't believe that it is possible. Listen very closely, this is how I would think things would go. Just purely out of 5G or something, I don't think all of that stuff can affect our brains and our thinking and our free will. However, you will have to maybe accept, let's say, a chip that is implanted in you, because when you have this chip, it might control your thoughts because it is inside of you. It is something that you have accepted on your own, and by then you will not have free will, because there will be something inside of you that will control your thoughts, your emotions even. But that is just a theory. This brings me to my next question: are all of the UFO sightings that have happened since the first one in the 1950s or something, I think I made a video about it, are all of them fake? And are all of them holograms, or are some of them real? But on a more serious note, I don't think that a alien invasion can even put our all differences aside that all the countries have against each other, all of the wars, because this world is a corrupt place, and I believe some country might take advantage of that situation on their own and create their own government and their own leadership that will not be this new world order, but that will create something bigger, a new war, like World War III, for example. And speaking about that, sooner or later something that will not be faked, something real will happen that will shake things up like never before, and that thing might be World War III. I just think in our current situation, even a fake alien invasion might not put all of the countries' differences aside for us to fight against this. Some countries will always take advantage of other countries' weaknesses, and they will take, okay, fake alien invasion, we might befriend the aliens and we will control the world. Full world peace in this situation will not even be possible. But for a leader to control an entire world as of right now, I think that is not possible if there is not a big major disaster in the world that will shake things up so much that people will lose all hope, and there out of nowhere comes this one person that says, I have the solution, listen to me, and he'll have big impact and he will befriend people to trust him. However, that will be a trap. That is just my quick brainstorm after reading this theory. So when I did this research about this video on Google, I typed in Project Bluebeam, and only 2 articles or so came up that are very short, by the way, that did not explain the Project Bluebeam good enough. So I had to dig deeper, and surprisingly enough, when I searched on DuckDuckGo Project Bluebeam, way more articles appeared. So it leads me to this question, and it is probably answered by now, and it is proven with this video that Google are actually censoring this kind of stuff for whatever reason. I don't know why, but just when you search it on DuckDuckGo, way more information about this conspiracy theory comes up. Thank you for watching, thank you for supporting me. I hope you have a blessed day, and please think critically of all the information that you consume, because it is really important that we control our thoughts, and we don't let any other human being do the thinking for us. I mean, God has given us brain, and let's use it for our own sake. And thank you for just being here still, and God bless.